What's happening, folks? Back with the next installment in our Classical Days journey. And as I mentioned at the end of my journey through the first suite of Antonin Dvorak's Slavonic dances, I'm now thinking I may extend this into a 6-day, going until Saturday, at which point I will then go back to regular reactions on Sunday, but I figure I'll get as many great pieces as I can during the special period. And this one is a single track on this soundtrack. Now, it's actually a series of solo and ensemble dances which comprise Dance of the Hours, which is a ballet section from the Ponchielli opera La Gioconda, which I believe debuted in 1876. Now, as you can see, I'm taking this from the original Fantasia soundtrack, which is to say, I grew up on the original Fantasia. I remember seeing it multiple times when I was a kid, and ultimately I would later see the Fantasia 2000, which has more modernized animation and a different selection of pieces, but I think it's also very good. But yes, for most people, this is the real Fantasia, so to speak. Now, when I first got these 2 discs, it comes on a 2-disc set, I don't think I actually realized the original film soundtrack was conducted by Leopold Stokowski, but this recorded soundtrack that was then released on records and later CDs, it was from 20 years later, and it was actually conducted by, is it Erwin? I think it's Erwin Kostel. Do I have that right? Yeah, Erwin Kostel. Now, it doesn't say here on the CD or the booklet, and I even looked on the master release on Discogs, and I can't find the appropriate information either. I don't know what symphony orchestra did the performance here. It only lists Erwin Kostel as the conductor. So, in any case, we're going to listen to Dance of the Hours, which is a series of solo and ensemble dances from La Gioconda by Ponchielli. And if you've seen Fantasia, then you won't be able to avoid thinking of hippos and alligators during this, but it really is an incredible series of dances, and it starts smooth, and it's, for much of it, a bit mysterious, quite mellow, but when we get to the very end of the Dance of the Hours, it really kicks into a higher gear and has a lot of energy and power. So let's listen to it. This is by Ponchielli, Dance of the Hours, which, as I said, is a ballet section featuring solo and ensemble dances from his 1876 opera, La Gioconda. It's such fun. Having heard that many times, you can tell that last section, like my brain just will never forget that sequence of eruptions and sprightly melodies and intense flourishes. So yes, I think the whole piece is great, and I love how it starts. It's light and it's sweet, and it has that famous sort of call and response, which I think is, I forget what it's from, but the like "Hello Mother, Hello Father," like it's a refrain that's been used or a melodic theme that's been used in some different things long after it was originally written. Then it gets a bit more mysterious or almost a sense of danger, which of course, if you've seen the animation from the original Fantasia, it's when the alligators, maybe they're crocodiles, but they start creeping in. And then it goes back to the light and flowing melody. And then it gets into that section, there's harps and there's this elegance to it. But all the while, there's the sense that there's still something coming. And again, that mysterious section comes back, and then it sort of peters out. You get some little touches, and then it just marches into that energetic flourish at the end, which is, of course, my favorite part. So, yes, I love the last 2 to 3 minutes and that explosion of intensity. But even then, it's not just fire. There's some little melodies which, they remind you of cartoon animals scurrying about, which again is maybe in my mind because of the Fantasia animation, but I think they really found the right visual depiction of that sonic atmosphere, because I think even without seeing the film, that's what I would be imagining there. So yes, it's an amazing piece, and it's within a larger opera, of course, and fair to say I've never heard the full La Gioconda, so maybe the whole thing is worth investigating, but I'm pretty sure this is the most famous section from it, in part because of its popularization through Fantasia. But as I said, the last 2 to 3 minutes is just fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed the journey. Shout out to Erwin Kostel, as well as Leopold Stokowski, and just the Fantasia film in general, as well as Ponchielli, of course. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back for one more piece in this opening day of Classical Days. Peace.